It's now time for Talkin' Boxing with Billy C. It began as a podcast, went live on the net, and transformed into a full-blown empire. It's the only daily boxing talk show on the planet, hosted by the only guy with the balls to do it. Many have stepped into the ring. Many have tried to take the belt. And one by one, they've fallen. Another victim of the undisputed heavyweight champion of boxing talk radio. Talkin' Boxing with Billy C is on now.
My style is impetuous, my defense is impregnable, and I'm just ferocious. I want your heart.
Coming to you live from the Billy C Studios in Lake George, New York. I'm Bill Calogero, and it's time for the Billy C Show. Good morning, good day, good evening. Whenever you listen, I hope you're doing all right. Don't forget, we want to give a special shout-out to all of our viewers on Holyfield Television. We're glad to be part of your sports programming, and we want to hear from you. Drop us an email, billy@talkinboxing. That's TALKINBOXING.com. Don't forget to download our app. You can get our app right now by going to Fight. That's FITE, fight.tv/BillyC, and watch and listen to the show on your handheld. I also want to give a special shout out to our viewers on Facebook. That's right, we are starting to broadcast live on Facebook. Now, I will tell you guys that are watching on Facebook, you're better off coming over to the YouTube channel or our website, BillyCBoxing.com, to get the full video experience. But we are simulcasting on Facebook now in minimal video. So if you're watching on Facebook, come on over or just come into our chat room on BillyCBoxing.com. Today's show is being brought to us in part by Sal's Neighborhood Pizzeria and Italian Restaurant located on beautiful St. Simon's Island in Georgia. Check out the website, www.salsneighborhoodpizzeria.com, or give my man a call, 912-268-2328, 912-268-2328. Find out why I go all the way to St. Simon's to get a decent slice of pizza. I'm going in a couple of weeks, so hopefully you'll be in the area. Today's show is also being brought to us in part by Gawk Box. What is it? Check it out. You can help us, and we can help you. Visit our website, BillyCBoxing.com. Click on the Gawk Box banner and create an account today. It's for free and can save you some buku dollars. Today's show is also being brought to us in part by the Turning Stone Resort and Casino and their next boxing event, which is Friday, June 9th. During the Boxing Hall of Fame weekend. I'm going to be ringside. You need to be too. Get yourself some tickets by visiting our website, BillyCBoxing.com, and clicking on the Turning Stone poster, or just go to the Turning Stone box office. Just make sure you tell them Billy C sent you, and you demand the Billy C discount. And finally, today's show is being brought to us in part by my book, Tom Molyneux, From Bondage to Baddest Man on the Planet, is available right now where all good books are sold. You can get a copy of it by going to barnesandnoble.com or amazon.com. Find out why we got a 5-star rating across the board. Looking to get a signed copy? Don't worry about it. Visit our website, www.billycboxing.com, and click on the book. You can't miss it. Coming up later in the week, we got our blast from the past tomorrow on Ike Ibuchi, another request from you guys. So we'll be talking about Ike Ibuchi. Alex Papali will stop by and do that. We also got tomorrow scheduled my man Larry Hazard, Boxing Hall of Famer and New Jersey Boxing Commissioner. We'll be chatting with him. Coming up today, we got Dax Khan will be joining us in a little bit. And my main topic today, of course, is talking about the big fight that took place this past weekend between Errol Spence Jr. and Kell Brook. I thought it was a really good fight. Let's get my partner in crime's thoughts. Joining me right now, he's a New Jersey Boxing Hall of Famer. He's a Guinness Book of World Record holder. He owns a pretty damn good pizzeria and Italian restaurant. And he's the man. He's the myth. He's the legend himself. Boys and girls, children of all ages, please welcome Sal Rocky Senecola. Good morning, Sal.
Good morning, Bill. How are you today, buddy?
I'm doing good. I'm going to build an ark. It's been raining here in upstate New York for a while, man. I know you want the rain, you want the snow, you want all the terrible weather, and you can have it.
I do. I want anything to alleviate the pounding of the heat down here. It's relentless, I'm telling you.
Speaking of pounding,
Yes.
this weekend, Kell Brook against Errol Spence Jr. I love the fight, and I got news for you. Before I give my total thoughts, I'm gonna get yours first. But let me tell you something. I thought that Kell Brook was pretty much in control of this fight in the beginning, and really for the first 6 rounds. I know that unofficially Steve Farhood was giving a couple of those early rounds to Errol Spence, but I didn't see it that way. I thought that Brook was winning the fight, and then Spence just shifted it into another gear. He was taking advantage of his conditioning, his youth, even though it was only a few years difference. I thought it did make a difference. And he started letting his hands go. I thought that Errol Spence, really, for the first part of the fight, was stalking and not throwing punches. When he did exchange, he did okay. He did take some shots. But I thought it was Spence's fight in the beginning. And then, after the 6th round, of course, I'm sorry, I thought it was Brook's fight in the beginning. But then after the 6th round, Errol Spence kicked it up a notch and started doing some damage to Brook's eye, and ultimately stopped Brook at 1 minute and 47 seconds in the whatever it was. What was it? The 11th round, 10th round?
No, 12th.
No, 11th round.
11th round. Yeah.
We find out post-fight that Brook now broke his left eye socket to join his broken right eye socket that Triple G gave him. Your thoughts on the fight, Sal?
It's funny because you and I did discuss this fight before, and I pretty much, Bill, I'm glad to say this was one fight that actually rolled out exactly how I called it with you when I talked to you about it. And I did also have Kell Brook leading the fight, probably right up until the 10th round. I mean, I had him slightly ahead. The first round I gave a draw because it was just simply a ebb and flow kind of round. But second, third, fourth, and fifth round I gave to Kell Brook by slight margins as well. After the 6th round, which I did give to Errol Spence, I had the fight 59-56 in favor of Kell Brook. And then from that 6th round on, I had Errol Spence winning every round thereafter. And, of course, the 10-8 round was the 10th round when he did drop him. And I'll tell you, I think Kell Brook's going to have to really look and do some soul searching and see how much more is the prize going to be worth the price. Because I'll tell you what, we were talking the other day about, you're breaking bones. Yes, that break usually the tissue will mend itself and be stronger, but the surrounding tissue may structurally be weaker as well. And I think he's going to have some real good questions to answer for himself, his family, and what he wants to do with the remaining years of his life, whether he wants to fight and worry about his face cracking up. I don't know.
Well, I mean, it is what it is, and
it is what it is.
There was a lot of discussion after the fight, saying he quit and questioning his chutzpah or whatever. You know what? I've never broken an eye socket, but I could only imagine that it's pretty painful, and I don't know. I don't think anyone can question his manness, or however you want to put it. I just felt he couldn't continue. He felt he couldn't perform. He couldn't protect himself. He couldn't see the punches coming. And credit to Errol Spence. And the other thing I like about Errol Spence is at the end of the fight, he said it wasn't his best performance. He gave himself I think a B or a C rating for his performance, and I kind of agree with him. My question is is simply this: is it a result of Spence? I mean, let's face it, Errol Spence. In my breakdowns on Friday, I said that I felt that both fighters kind of fought the same level of opposition. But I think it just goes to show you that Spence he looked like a different fighter against a guy that was clearly better than any other opposition he faced. That will give him a chance to get better, in my opinion. Is he the best welterweight out there, Sal?
I think he's got to be considered today one of the best. Of course, we want to see. I would love to see him fight Keith Thurman, and that would probably prove to be one of the, if not the best, after that fight. But Errol Spence did a great job. I mean, even though he was trailing throughout the fight, I could sense that there was an alluring dominance waiting to unfold, which took place after the 6th round. And he wasn't his sharpest. He wasn't at his best that he self-proclaims. But he got the job done, and I got to give it to him. He went into another man's backyard, stole his heart there and his title, and came out with the victory. And I give him a lot of credit there. And he went in with that mentality, that mindset, that warrior mentality and mindset, which I love. And both these guys, they fought their heart out, and Errol Spence came out the way I thought he would.
Well, I give a lot of credit, similar to you, with a fighter that did what Errol Spence did. He went into Brook's backyard in his hometown in front of almost 30,000 fans that clearly were on Brook's side.
Oh, boy.
And, it's a big event to fight a major in a major boxing event in England. I mean, we can't compare to the way the fans are live in the UK. The United States can't do it. I mean, you can make the argument that everybody wants to come here and fight on the cable networks, et cetera, et cetera. They make more money. Maybe this is all true, which we know it's true. But you're not going to beat the live audiences in the UK. Listen, I've been saying it for a long time, Sal. The UK carries boxing on its back. I think it's pretty obvious right now. The last several big fights that were all entertaining. This is a big key to this whole issue,
yes.
Sal. We've had big fights, but how many of them have been entertaining? The fight on Saturday night was an entertaining fight. It did keep at least myself on the edge of my seat, wondering what was going to happen. I mean, Brook was landing some heavy bombs on Errol Spence. It was interesting to see that he has a decent chin. I think we came out of that fight seeing that Errol Spence has a decent chin. Kell Brook, people question his heart for basically kneeling down in the 11th round. Would he have won on the scorecards? I mean, on my scorecard, the fight, with that 10-8 round, the fight was close. I mean, I had the fight close. I did have Errol Spence ahead going into the 11th round. I think I had him up by 1 point. But you don't know. You don't know how the local people are scoring it, and could he have just finished on his feet if he was able to protect that eye socket and finish on his feet? Who knows what the outcome would have been by going to the scorecards? But I think it's just reflective of how painful that must have been for him, where he couldn't go another 5 minutes.
You and I will never know what he felt as far as the excruciating pain, the concern, the demons, the doubts. Who knows? You want to know something? The first time I fought internationally over in Europe against the French national team with the United States team as a kid, I got popped in the first round so hard on my eardrum. Now, it blew it right out, perforated. I didn't know what the hell was going on. I said, what the hell? Am my brain leaking? I didn't know. So it was the doubts in your mind, what's going on now? And, you're in the fight. I didn't quit. I fought the whole fight. I thought I won, too, but I didn't win the decision. But, you don't know. And I am sure that he had an idea with a similar pain from a similar incident when he fought Triple G. So, we can't doubt it. And I had him right up until that 10-8 round. Kell Brook was leading in my scorecard as well. And going into the 11th, I had after 10, I had 96-95 in favor of Errol Spence. It was a good fight. It was a tough fight. It was a tight fight. And I was surprised Kell Brook even did a great body attack. He made Errol think twice before he just came in at him.
Well,
so it was a good fight.
One thing I did like watching was Errol Spence working the body.
Yes, he did.
And I, there were a couple of shots that seemed low, but I like the referee letting the guys fight. I mean, the last thing I wanted to see was a referee get involved too much and then possibly hinder what we saw. I thought it was a classic fight. Of course, I'd like to see Spence fight, Keith Thurman or
yes.
we saw Sean Porter in the audience.
Yes.
He might very well be the mandatory for the IBF. I'm not 100% sure on that. And then don't forget we got Manny Pacquiao. He's also a welterweight champ. You got Danny Garcia. There's a lot of big fights for Errol Spence right now. And listening to Errol Spence, it sounds like he's all for going for the big names. But hey, Sal, don't go anywhere. We're going to take a short little break. When we come back, we'll get everybody caught up on the rest of the major fights that took place this past weekend. And we'll continue discussing the Kell Brook Errol Spence fight. We got Dax Khan joining us a little bit. So all of that's coming up in about 2.
Billy C will be right back.
Endless pools are an incredible alternative to traditional pools, making it easy and inexpensive to swim at home. Exercise year-round against a smooth current set to your desired pace and temperature. With our new underwater treadmill, you can walk or run without stressing your joints. Endless pools are simple to install and even simpler to maintain. The water stays crystal clear with almost no chlorine. Call for your free idea kit and experience the freedom of swimming at home.
Snacking has never been this exciting. At Graze.com, we combine wholesome ingredients with the flavors we all love to create over 100 exciting snacks, like these. We'd love to send you a Graze sampler box for free. Just go to Graze.com, enter the code ENJOY36, and we'll mail your free box to your home or office. Join thousands of Grazers already in love with our exciting snacks. So come to Graze.com for your first box free.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace?
Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Endless pools are an incredible alternative to traditional pools, making it easy and inexpensive to swim at home. Exercise year-round against a smooth current set to your desired pace and temperature. With our new underwater treadmill, you can walk or run without stressing your joints. Endless pools are simple to install and even simpler to maintain. The water stays crystal clear with almost no chlorine. Call for your free idea kit and experience the freedom of swimming at home.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you!
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us. I'm here with my man Sal Rocky Senecola, and Sal, I just found out from Dax. We're experimenting today. We're simulcasting on our Facebook group page, Sal. And
all right.
Unfortunately for me and them, I forgot that. We weren't on the one main camera, so when I got up to fix something, Dax says, by the way, you can see yourself moving around the studio and doing all this. I was like, uh-oh.
Me or you?
No, me. I didn't have the camera on you.
I was just doing a pirouette.
But anyway, just to get people caught up on some of the other fights real quick.
Yes, sir.
If you missed it, we're talking about Errol Spence defeating Kell Brook on Saturday. Errol picked up the IBF World Welterweight title. Spence improves to 22 wins, no losses, 19 coming by knockout when he stopped Kell Brook at 1 minute and 47 seconds of the 11th round. Kell Brook loses for the second time in his career, his previous loss to Triple G, where Triple G broke his right eye socket, orbital bone, or however you want to call it, and Errol Spence broke his left one. So now Kell Brook has the unfortunate experience of knowing how not one but two eye sockets feel when they break. Also on that card, Georgie Groves improved to 26 wins and 3 losses with 19 knockouts when he scored a 6th-round knockout, TKO, I should say, over Fedor Chudinov, who drops to 14-2 to pick up a vacant title, the WBA Super Middleweight Championship. And also, my man, congratulations to my man, Lenroy Thomas. He improved to 21 wins and 4 losses when he won a 12-round split decision over David Allen to pick up the Commonwealth British Empire. And I was educated by some of my British fans. And because Lenroy Thomas happened to have been born in Jamaica, he was eligible for this title. I was being critical on Friday, so obviously I was straightened out. So congratulations to my man TNT. David Allen drops to 11 wins, 3 losses, and a draw. In some other fights in a WBC Super Bantamweight Eliminator, Julio Ceja improved to 31-2 with 28 knockouts when he knocked out Emilio Moreno in the 3rd round. Moreno drops to 36 wins, 6 losses, and a draw. Also in another WBC Eliminator in the minimum weight division, or strawweight division, however you look at it, Leroy Estrada improved to 16-2 when he scored a 12-round unanimous decision over Saul Juarez, who drops to 23 wins, 6 losses, and a draw. The way the judges saw it, 2 of them had it 117-110. The third had it 115-112, all in favor of Estrada. Number 4 and number 6 rated. Let's just say he's rated in the top 10 by 2 of the sanctioning bodies. In the junior middleweight division, Kanat Islam, he improved to 24-0 with 19 knockouts when he won a fight over Norberto Gonzalez in Florida. Norberto Gonzalez is a tough opponent, but 12-round unanimous decision gave Islam the win there. Those were the big fights that took place over the weekend, Sal, and I tell you, we had a nice weekend of good fights. I wish we got to see the Groves fight over in England, but I thought that the Errol Spence Kell Brook fight was definitely worth watching.
It was, and you know what? We heard, and you and I have said, but I heard the commentators on Saturday night also saying this is the year where we are starting to really see the best fighting the best. And that's what I am hoping, like I said last year, that boxing is in a stage where it's rebooting itself. And so far this year, I'm telling you, Bill, we've been seeing some really good classic fights. And I think we're on a schedule to continue to do so with some big names coming up in the near future.
Yeah, well, hopefully they'll fight the fights. I mean, a lot of these guys say they fight them and they don't, But hopefully we will see these guys fight the fights and make it happen. Because I personally think that the sport is in a resurgence right now, Sal. I mean, this year we've gotten treated to some great fights. So. Got an update. Let's just go back for a second, a little bit. The previous week, we had that controversial fight with Andre Durrell and Jose Utica. I'm not even going to murder his.
No,
name.
you to say.
I'm just going to say Jose
Utica.
Right? It's not even that. It's not even pronounced like that.
I know.
But apparently, the camp of Jose U has filed an official. Official, I guess, challenge to the decision to the IBF, and apparently they will be looking at it. They were trying to get them to order an immediate rematch, and at the same time, apparently the IBF is going to decide on disciplinary action against Leon Lawson, who, by the way, when we have Dax come on a little bit later, I'm wondering if he's still at large, if they still can't find Leon Lawson, which is complete BS. But, I hope that they do order an immediate rematch. I think Andre Durrell and his whole camp is bad for the sport of boxing. I honestly do. I mean, for whatever it's worth, every time they fight, there's been some problems. We heard from our very own Larry Hazard last week saying that, they have presented some problems when he's fought in the state of New Jersey. The camp, not so much Andre or even Anthony, but the camp. So we'll see what happens with the IBF. They could put pressure on Durrell to fight, Jose Yu again. It was their belt that was on the line to begin with, so they can do that. And as far as disciplinary action, the WBC has already filed discipline. Was it the WBC or the WBA? Now I'm forgetting. I think it was the WBC, wasn't it, Sal?
It was the W.
Yeah, it was. It was the W. You're right. I'm glad. I'm glad Sal keeps me up to date on all this stuff. But
safety first. Safety first.
I think that it was terrible that it even took place. So in any event, hey, listen. Let me get everybody caught up here on some sports scores, and then when we come back, we'll read some emails. And we'll go from there, and then we'll get Dax on here in about a half hour. But over in the NHL, we got the Stanley Cup playoffs going on already, Sal. And it started yesterday. Now, the defending champions of the Stanley Cup, the Pittsburgh Penguins, well, in case you missed it, they're back in the Cup hunt. And they're playing the Nashville Predators, who had a very solid team all year. And last night, the defending champions took control of the Stanley Cup. They lead the series 1-0 with a 5-3 win over the Predators. So congratulations to the Penguins. 3 more W's and they win the Cup again. And they all get to parade around with the Cup for a while, Sal. But in Major League Baseball, I love this score. The Orioles beat the Yankees 3-2. We love it when the Yankees lose. At least I do.
Easy? No, we don't. We do not. X-nay on the lose.
I'm going to mute you. I'm going to mute you in a minute. The White Sox beat the Red Sox, the Battle of the Sox. And the Peppermints, different Sox. But the White Sox beat them 5-4. The Astros. Man, is this team continuing to roll? I mean, I know we're only closing out on the month of May, but the Astros seem pretty good. Now, they did the same thing last year and the year before, but they beat the Twins 16-8 in that one. The Dodgers over the Cardinals 5-1. The Mariners over the Rockies 6-5. Nationals keep winning 3-0 over the Giants. Pirates beat the Diamondbacks 4-3. The Indians over the A's 5-3. The Padres beat the Cubbies 5-2. Texas Rangers beat the Royals 10-7. Blue Jays over the Reds 17-2. A lot of runs being scored this year, Sal. The Marlins beat the Phillies 4-1. The Tampa Bay Rays beat the Rangers 10-8. I'm sorry, the Tigers beat the Royals. Did I say that, or did I say Rangers before? But the Rays beat the Rangers 10-8. The Braves, they beat the Angels 6-3. And the Mets, they put together a 2-game win streak. Can their season be being turned around? I don't know. I have not been able to watch them. They are my team, I will admit. They're my team, but they beat the Brewers 4-2 yesterday. Gazelman gets the win for the Mets. So that's what took place in the other sports arenas, or fields and arena, I guess. But Yankees lost, brother.
Easy. You know what? I take every loss from the Yankees. Very hard.
You don't even watch the game. You don't even watch the games. Who are you trying to kid? You don't even know.
Are you kidding me?
Let me tell you something. When I tell you, you know when you find
radio.
out the Yankees lose? When I tell you. I mean, come on, don't be lying to me, man.
Man.
Your pizza dough's starting to rise. Your pizza dough's starting to rise because of the lies, all right? You don't watch
Just
it.
don't
Come
call
on,
me
man.
Pinocchio. You'll see my nose.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Who are you trying to kid, man? Who are you trying to kid?
I love the Yankees. They are my favorite team in the history of baseball.
I'm not denying that. You just don't follow them that closely.
It's hard down south, you know.
It's hard down south.
That's
right. They don't have TV.
All I watch is Fox News and fights. That's all I do.
Oh, yeah, it's hard down south, because they don't have TV yet. Did they finally get running
I don't
water?
have time.
Did they get running water? I mean, it looks like you're in a nice place. I mean, you still got to go outside to the outhouse or what?
Billy. No, I
Hey, listen,
close the outhouse.
That's a good segue because we're going to take a short break, and when I get back, we got an email or two to read, and then Dax Khan is going to join us. So don't go anywhere. We'll be back. I'm going to say in about 2. So we'll be right back.
Billy C will be right back.
If you or a loved one have had hernia repair surgery with mesh reinforcement and suffered infection, chronic pain, mesh migration, mesh failure, organ damage, or needed additional surgery, call the Rely On Group right now. You may be eligible to receive a cash award and compensation for your medical expenses. Your voice deserves to be heard. Call the Rely On Group to be connected with a personal injury attorney for a free consultation. Call 800-715-4869. That's 800-715-4869.
Snacking has never been this exciting. At Graze.com, we combine wholesome ingredients with the flavors we all love to create over 100 exciting snacks. Like these. We'd love to send you a Graze sampler box for free. Just go to Graze.com, enter the code ENJOY36, and we'll mail your free box to your home or office. Join thousands of Grazers already in love with our exciting snacks. So come to Graze.com for your first box free.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace?
Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Endless pools are an incredible alternative to traditional pools, making it easy and inexpensive to swim at home. Exercise year-round against a smooth current set to your desired pace and temperature. With our new underwater treadmill, you can walk or run without stressing your joints. Endless pools are simple to install and even simpler to maintain. The water stays crystal clear with almost no chlorine. Call for your free idea kit and experience the freedom of swimming at home.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you!
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're listening and watching the Billy C. Show. Glad you're with us today. And don't forget to get a copy of my book. That's right. Tom Molyneux, From Bondage to Baddest Man on the Planet, is available right now where all good books are sold. You can get a copy Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, or right up on our website, www.BillyCBoxing.com. If you're watching or listening on any place else live right now, don't forget, we respond to the chat room that's on BillyCBoxing.com. I know you got a lot of choices in the chat room worlds, but the one we respond to is up on BillyCBoxing.com. I'm here with my man Sal, Rocky, Senna, Cola. And Sal, we got an email. You ready to read?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
All right. First one here. Well, I guess I only got one. I thought I printed out a couple, but I might have left them over there. I'm a little discombobulated today, man. We got the new experiment going on Facebook and our group page, which isn't the full-fledged video experience that people get on television or on our YouTube channel, but it's there anyway. But anyway, this one's from my man Tomas from Hungary. Boy, I'm starting to get hungry, but no, different place. But he says, hey, Billy C. and Sal, I got 2 comments on the Brook Spence fight. He says, I heard some comments on the forums that Spence didn't look good in that fight, and that he's lucky that Brook got injured. I totally disagree. This is Tomas. He says Spence was methodical and invested a lot in those killer body shots, which eventually paid off. He did not get intimidated by the punches Brook landed. He kept his composure and executed a brilliant game plan. That's his first comment. I agree. I mean, I thought that he fought a little tentative in the beginning of the fight. I really do. I thought that he was moving forward and he was cutting the ring off. He was trying to. It looked to me like they worked on a few things. One of them was to be, in control, to control the ring, to be the ring general. And the other, obviously, was to work the body and break the opponent down and then get him in the later rounds, even though Errol Spence never went past the 7th round himself. And that's what it looked like to me. And that first part of the game plan looked like he was following through with the ring generalship part, Sal. But you know how I always say that, when you think too much, it kind of slows you down? And to me, that's what it looked like with Errol Spence, that he was actually thinking too much in the first part of the fight, because once he stopped doing that, and I could be totally wrong. I mean, he could have just, needed egging on from the corner to throw more punches. But, from the end of the 5th, going, from the 6th round on, he seemed to step up his output. And I think that was what was missing in the first part of the fight. What do you think?
I think you're right to a degree. Like I said, I think he was figuring him out. I think he was looking at the tempo and the pace of the fight. And I think he was executing, and as the email suggested, he was hoping those dividends of those body shots through the rounds were going to tally up and pay off, which they did in the long run. Like I said, I gave Kell Brook through the 6th round. He was clearly ahead. I gave 2 rounds to draw. The first round, which was the feeling out round, kind of, it ebb and flow a little bit, and the 7th round. But from then on, as I said, the 6th round, 7th round on, it was all Errol Spence, and he was trailing as small, but he was trailing as far as a little point behind up until he had that 10-8 round with the knockdown. But I always felt there was a looming presence of him being in control of the fight, to his credit and on his side. I knew he was going to come back strong.
See, now, in the beginning of that fight, when I was watching, I thought Kell Brook was in control in the beginning. He was.
Did I say the wrong? No, Kell Brook was clearly in control. I had him winning 5 out of the first 6 rounds, or at least aside from the draw. Yeah, he was ahead. Yeah. I had him ahead at the end of the 6th round. I had Kell Brook ahead 59 to 56.
Well, to me, he was landing the more meaningful punches. He was counting. Errol Spence was working on getting his distance. At least this is the way it turned out. Whether that was the plan or not, we don't know. But the way it turned out was Errol Spence was seemingly working on his distance, cutting off the ring, getting used to what he was getting thrown at him from Kell Brook. And it took him the first half of the fight to do it. But then he stepped on the gas, and when he started landing with the jab, his jab obviously did more damage than a lot of people might realize. I mean, the jab is what set up the orbital or socket or whatever problem. He started landing with that jab on a regular basis. Kell Brook had no answer for. That's when you say to yourself, well, if you start being taking those shots like he was. I mean, what could his corner have said? Start pivoting around the opposite way, maybe, to get away from it. They didn't seem to make the right adjustment. I don't recall them addressing the effective jab of Errol Spence in the corner. Do you?
No, and that was what was lacking, I think. But like I was saying earlier, I think that definitely Errol Spence was hoping to capture what he was investing in those early rounds, and that's what he did. I mean, he was getting his distance, figuring it out, using that jab effectively. Like I said, there was this presence that he had that he was going to control that fight. He just was giving away not giving away. Kell Brook earned those wins of the rounds in the early part of the fight.
Yeah. Well,
but he figured him out in the end, and that's what he did. He came on strong. He looked more dominant right after the 6th round.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm going to say the same thing. I know I'm going to sound like a broken record, but he started throwing more punches. I mean, that was the bottom line.
You want to win a fight, you got to throw punches.
You got to throw punches, and I don't, and I wouldn't even. A lot of times you see a fighter and you say, well, he's giving him too much respect. I didn't even see that from Errol Spence. No. I just saw him with a little bit of uncomfort in the first part of that fight. And in hindsight, and this is just my opinion, I think that he was just solidifying and making sure he had the distance right, and I think he waited until he could confirm in his mind the habits, the consistencies of Kell Brook. Kell Brook kept doing the same thing over and over and over. It didn't really change anything up. And by the midway point, Errol Spence was able to capitalize on it. But I do think that Errol Spence, was giving up some of those rounds. I'm not saying that was part of his game plan, but he certainly wasn't throwing enough punches. And I do agree with Tomas that the body work did pay off. I didn't see Kell Brook look like he was, keeping his arms down to protect himself from the body shots. I didn't see him really wince. I didn't see any physical indicators that the body shots were as effective as they most likely were. Did you notice any, or what?
Well, like you just said, I think those body shots, you really, unless it's one that takes the wind out of you and you're bent over. I think that Kell Brook felt those body shots, and they were adding up and slowing him down bit after bit. I just know that Errol Spence was confident by the end of the 6th round that he already saw the best of what Kell Brook was going to give him, and he remained even keeled for Kell.
I think that the game plan. Listen, we could play Monday morning quarterback. But the game plan looked like they were counting on Kell Brook to slow down in the later rounds. The way Errol Spence was cutting the ring off, and the way he was putting himself in position to throw punches in the early part of the fight, and just didn't let his hands go. I'm not so sure that was all by plan. I think that was just a learning experience for Errol Spence. But I do think that the game plan overall was to go deep into the fight, and similar to that game plan, Kell Brook thought that they would tire out Errol Spence by taking him in the later rounds, but it didn't work out for them that way, Sal. But what is it with me? Every day there's always a word that I can't pronounce for that day. It's like I don't know what it is. I guess.
I'm not even going to stab at it right now because I'm trying to. I was going to similarly. Yeah. Similarly, you got to put the extra L in there.
I mean, every so often I try to. It's like one word that just won't come out right, and I say it right all the other times. But anyway, so that was a good point from Tomas. The second one, he says, I also read on Twitter. Now he's talking about post-fight. He says, I read on Twitter from a lot of people that Brook quit. He says, that's the biggest BS I've heard recently. There's no quit in this guy. Even when he was getting pummeled, Brook fought back and wanted to take Spence out. There was no running. There was no holding. He was swinging for the fences. With that said, he almost got blinded in the Triple G fight, and I'm sure his eyesight was mostly gone in this fight. So I think he made the right choice. I applaud his performance and respect his decision. As far as I'm concerned, Brook's stock did not drop one bit. Great fight, and can't wait to see the rematch. I, too, agree that Kell Brook made the right decision. Unfortunately for the sport of boxing, a fighter that makes this decision on his own immediately gets labeled as a quitter, or a fighter that decides he's had enough and doesn't come out to answer the bell for the next round. He's a quitter. Unless the doctor stops it or the cornerman stops it, boxing fans have a tendency to not accept it. What's funny is that the sport that everyone thinks is overtaking boxing, which is MMA, they can tap out. They can virtually quit, and nobody ever complains because it's part of the rules. Boxing doesn't have a tap-out rule. I agree with Tomas here in this situation. He obviously knows and he said it in his quick post-fight interview. He says it feels like it did with Triple G. This is a guy that is a young man. He's got the whole life in front of him. If you're going to physically, and you say it all the time, Sal, the risk versus the price and risk versus reward, all that stuff.
Prize worth the price. Yeah.
Right. I don't know. If the guy can't perform, if you lose your arm in a fight, you break your arm, and you got to fight with one hand, it puts you at significant odds. Now, you could go back and make a case for a lot of fighters in the history of the sport that continued on. Muhammad Ali with a broken jaw against Kenny Norton. He suffered that broken jaw early in the fight and continued for the rest of the fight with a broken jaw. Arthur Abraham, his jaw was so grotesque. His jaw was broken open, hanging down, drool just coming out of his mouth like I sleep on my pillow, for God's sake. And he continued. I think it all matters of the pain threshold that fighters can take. What's your thoughts on that, Sal?
Well, like I said, when we had that conversation prior to this fight, part of what experience does lend is, wow, I'm realizing I'm feeling that same sensation. It's experiences across the board on so many levels. And, you have whatever doubts or thoughts going through your mind. When Kell Brook realized that, wow, this feels exactly like it did when I fought Triple G, this can't be good. So, like I said, whatever was going through his mind, he lost the fight or wanted that fight to end right then and there because he knew something was bad. And it wasn't going to get any better. So, that's the thought on it. He fought a great fight up until that point, and he just decided, the prize maybe isn't worth this price right now.
Well,
no.
Go ahead, finish.
No, I was going to say no big shame in that. Like you said, he probably had some recollection of what exactly would have felt like, and he was self-diagnostic on that term, and he said, "Hey, you know what? This is the same thing. I'm shot for now."
They just made an interesting point in the chat room, and the point that was made actually by Dax, who's coming on here in a little bit. Said, good fighters know when to say when. They know when it's over. It's not the same as when a fighter quits. And his point was there are plenty of quitters in the sport of boxing that just decide, they don't want to do it, And I don't think you can question Kell Brook's decision to stop fighting. He couldn't continue. I'm sure the pain threshold was an issue, but permanent damage to the eye, maybe even blindness was at stake. And for him to decide that it was too much, considering how close the fight was, and the other thing too, Sal, was leading up to that round. I know he was dropped in the earlier in the fight, in the previous round, but he was coming out pretty strong. It looked like he was trying to end the fight. He was sensing that either he himself was running on fumes and needed a last ditch effort to win, or maybe he started to think that it was time to move in on Spence because Spence might have been tiring and then ultimately found out that wasn't the case. I mean, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, that same thing. I mean, he definitely sensed that, he has to get this fight over with one way or the other. I mean, he came out with the intent, looking at some of those rounds, that he wanted to. He felt the sense of urgency in a sense, and then there was just a slight tip of the scale, which then after the knockdown, said different, and he was able to make his decision based on what he felt at that moment.
Geez, when I get on a scale, there's no slight balance. It just
Wait till you see what we're going to feed you next week.
No, when I get on a scale, as the numbers are going up, it just stops and says, come on, one of you guys got to get off, But I don't know. Tomas is talking about a rematch.
I don't see it.
I don't either. I mean, I'm sure there was a rematch clause in. I mean, I wouldn't have. Thanks for the email, Tomas. I mean, I wouldn't have any of my fighters fight in a championship fight without a rematch clause.
No.
But I don't know. I mean, the question is, Brook was saying, I'll fight anyone, anywhere. He suggested at the end of the fight that his career was certainly not over. But I mean, what's next? I mean, they have a rematch. Does Spence get to fight a guy like Sean Porter first and then a rematch? Does he go? I mean, Keith Thurman is not available until early next year, or even the end of this year. That's obviously the fight that everybody wants. If Keith Thurman can back up all his BS, I would think that he would be looking to fight Errol Spence right now. Errol Spence, his main goal is, according to Errol Spence, his main goal is to unify all the titles. So that means he needs to take care of Keith Thurman and then Manny Pacquiao. I'm pretty much, that's it. I mean, I think that pretty much covers all the main belts. Thurman's got 2 of them. And now Errol Spence has 1, and Manny's got the WBO. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens, Sal.
It sure will be. And you know what? In all due respect, I could see, because of the rematch clause, that they do have a rematch. If Kell Brook's eye is not that is able to recover. I don't know how long it's going to take. 6 months, a year. So he's going to have to stay busy in between. Talking about Errol Spence, but if they do have a rematch, I'm telling you, I could definitely see that Errol Spence will take care of business and Brook a little faster this time, and they'll be more dominant. I think he's got his number after this win. I think he's got his number going forward.
Yeah, I would think that if he did, I think you're right, because I think if they did have a rematch, I think Errol Spence would be more aggressive earlier.
Yeah, he'll say, I know what I could expect, I know what I got to do, and I'm going to clean it up. And I think he'll be more dominant throughout the fight. I don't think it'll be as evenly matched as the first one was, as this one was. And I could see Errol Spence turning it on earlier and putting Brook in harm's way again, and probably ending the fight sooner. Who knows? We'll see. But like I said, or like you said, there's some great fights out there in the welterweight division. And yes, Manny Pacquiao is one of them, and so is Keith Thurman. So you have a great field of top talent in the welterweight division right now, and those are just some of the top 4 names.
Well, I think a lot of the burden is now going to be on Keith Thurman. Keith Thurman is the guy that pounds his chest, says he's the best, and he's the main guy. He's demonstrated that he's the main guy. I mean, he beat Danny Garcia, he beat Sean Porter. Arguably he's already beaten the top names, and now we add Errol Spence to the list. What's next? Does Keith Thurman come out of his injury or his surgery on his elbow and go right after a guy like Errol Spence? Is he going to make us sit through a so-called tune-up or get the rust off type of a fight? I don't know. There's some big fights, and you've used the term a lot, Sal, round robins. And I think, what made, what we call the Fab Four of the 80s so great was the fact that they fought each other. Muhammad Ali had Frazier and Foreman and, some of the other great fighters of that era.
Shavers, that one.
No, we can go on and on. I mean, Ron Lyle and, all those guys.
Kenny Norton,
Norton,
all these
yeah.
guys.
That's what made them great. That's the problem with today's sport of boxing. Athletic-wise, we have the athletes. There's no question. We have the guys that know what they're doing. The problem is they don't fight the real fights. They look for the easy way out. Floyd Mayweather set that precedence, and as a result, everybody tries to copy Floyd, And the truth of the matter is what makes you great is if you have some great dance partners to make you better. And we have them right now, Sal. And it's going to be it's going to be up to them to fight each other, right?
That is 100% correct. And you know what? We didn't touch on, but we cannot deny the fact that we almost had what could have been ranked as one of the fights of the year last year between Sean Porter and Keith Thurman, and surely that may deserve a rematch to see that fight as well. So don't discount Sean Porter as a big name in that top round robin.
No, well, Sean Porter was ringside. It gave me reason to believe that he is possibly on tap, was on tap for the winner of that fight.
Yeah.
So and to see Sean Porter against Errol Spence, that would be a good fight. Sean Porter, the knocks on Sean Porter is, you and I talk about it off the air a lot. The guy is just not accurate. His punches just they land all over the place. But he doesn't tire. And he's relentless. And
yes,
he's got a lot of heart. I mean, I think it would be a good fight, him and Errol Spence, to be honest with you.
Be a war. I think it'd be a great fight. But like I said, there's still people out there, including myself, that would like to see a Keith Thurman, Sean Porter rematch.
Yeah, well, I think Porter earned a rematch, and I wasn't so happy with the first fight. I thought that fight was pretty close, Thurman.
Yeah,
Porter.
it
was. I think Porter is the odd man out for some reason. But Keith Thurman, listen, for me, the next fight for Keith Thurman is one of two fights. Either a rematch with Sean Porter, because I do like that fight, or Errol Spence. I mean, there's nothing. Those are the only two fights I want to see Keith Thurman in, because he doesn't need another, layup fight. And the truth of the matter is, there's other fighters that should be fighting each other. Maybe Kell Brook fights somebody else to earn a shot. I don't know. If he continues to fight. I mean,
we're going to have to see, because I think that whole thing, we're going to see what the doctor and what the reports are going to be out of the Kell Brook camp, because, for him to really just get back in the ring without having to think about what's going to happen next, I think that's why it's been quiet on his side. I'm sure there's going to be prognosis, assessments, and everything else going forward. So we're going to wait and see. I think we'll probably learn something by the middle of this week, next week.
Listen, Sal, we're going to let you go fill up your coffee, because
I will.
We're going to take a short break here. When we come back, we're going to have Dax Khan join us, and then we'll throw Dax to the curb and get you back. So we'll do all of that. And for everybody that is watching on our inaugural Facebook stream, don't forget to come on over to our YouTube channel, or watch us on Holyfield TV and some of our other affiliates, which we will be giving you the channels on DirecTV and Comcast as soon as I get them. I know the networks. I just don't know the channel numbers. But we will get you all of that soon. But you can always catch the stream up on BillyCBoxing.com as well. Sal, we'll talk to you in a little bit. Go get some coffee. And for everybody else, we'll be back in about 2 with Dax Khan.
Billy C will be right back. Part of the Billy C Boxing Network.
Endless pools are an incredible alternative to traditional pools, making it easy and inexpensive to swim at home. Exercise year-round against a smooth current set to your desired pace and temperature. With our new underwater treadmill, you can walk or run without stressing your joints. Endless pools are simple to install and even simpler to maintain. The water stays crystal clear with almost no chlorine. Call for your free idea kit and experience the freedom of swimming at home.
Snacking has never been this exciting. At Graze.com, we combine wholesome ingredients with the flavors we all love to create over 100 exciting snacks. Like these. We'd love to send you a Graze sampler box for free. Just go to Graze.com, enter the code ENJOY36, and we'll mail your free box to your home or office. Join thousands of Grazers already in love with our exciting snacks. So come to Graze.com for your first box free.
This message is for all Americans that owe $10,000 or more in back taxes to the IRS. Look, I know you want to keep ignoring those letters, but the problem isn't going away. It's really stressful, and you don't know where to turn.
The good news is you have rights, and we can help resolve your IRS problems.
If you owe more than $10,000 in back taxes, our qualified CPAs, tax negotiators, and support staff know the law and know how to get your situation under control legally and permanently.
Call the number on your screen now and we will contact the IRS on your behalf, help you end wage garnishments, stop collection calls, remove tax liens, get rid of IRS and state tax penalties, and reduce the amount you owe if you qualify. You wouldn't go to fix your car without going to a mechanic, so why face the IRS without an experienced company that can help you?
Let us take the stress of back taxes and the IRS off your shoulders so you can spend time on the important things in your life, like your family or your business. If you owe more than $10,000 in back taxes, call now and find out how we can help you.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you!
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're listening and watching the Billy C. Show. I'm glad you could be with us today, and we're glad with you. We're glad we're with you. Jeez, I'm having a hard time speaking. So I tell you what, hopefully my man Dax can speak a little better than me. Joining me right now is Dax Khan. What's up, Dax?
I never have a hard time speaking.
This is true. But what's your thoughts on the fight, man? I loved it. What'd you think? Errol Spence, Kell Brook.
It was a very good fight. Early on, it looked like the experience of Kell Brook might, prevail. He was continuously landing his left over Spence's right jab. Spence didn't seem to have an answer for that the first couple rounds. Then around the late third to fourth, all of a sudden Spence became aggressive. We started to see a change. He found his rhythm and his tempo. Halfway through, I had it very close, but little by little, as Sal stated before, Spence started taking the rounds over, and it showed exactly what he has inside. He took some punches. He was not hurt where he was rocked, but he answered back anytime he did get caught with something flush, and he showed exactly what the class and caliber he is. In my opinion, Errol Spence at welterweight is now what Anthony Joshua is at heavyweight, and the next big star of that next era. And he is the guy who has set the pace, and everybody right now has to go after him because Errol Spence has shown to be a class above. And what is great, as you stated before, and a lot of other people, is he didn't bang his chest afterwards. He didn't talk about himself in the third party. He spoke honestly about his early performance. He gave credit to his opponent, and something, he named who he wants to fight in the future. He didn't say it boldly. He didn't say how he was going to beat, walk through, destroy. He didn't raise his hand. He did what a champion was supposed to do in the ring and in the post-fight, and the future is just bright for Errol Spence. And you know what? It's something that boxing has needed for a long time. Now we have not one, but we have another star aside from Anthony Joshua that's just ushering in the new generation, and the two most popular and the two most historical eras in the sport, heavyweight and welterweight, have always been the divisions in boxing. And you know what? Now we have these stars in boxing in both divisions, one on each side of the pond.
My first comment would be, did you think that the first half of that fight was even? I mean, like it was going back and forth? I kind of thought that Kell Brook was owning those early rounds. I thought, like I was saying earlier, I thought that Errol Spence was a little tentative, letting his hands go, and I thought Kell Brook was winning those early rounds. It was clear that the momentum shift and Spence shifted into another gear, and Kell Brook couldn't keep up, and ultimately the end was what it was. Did you think it was closer in the early rounds? Were you giving some of those early rounds to Errol?
No, I was giving those to Kell. The only person I think that gave Errol Spence the third round was Steve Farhood.
Yeah, I know. I didn't understand.
Because, wasn't that Errol was getting beat up. It was just the experience, I think, was playing a factor into it. And Kell Brook was starting out strong. And again, the jab going over Errol Spence's jab seemed, it took a couple rounds for Errol Spence to adjust. And he did what you expect and what you want to see, a guy adjust. If he didn't adjust, the fight would have turned out, a whole lot different, obviously. But, he did adjust, and the end is what it is. I really, if he would have came out there and it would have been one-sided either way, you know what? Nobody would have been happy with the fight. It went back and forth. It's everything that we expected out of a world title fight. I don't see any complaints with this bout, in my opinion, whatsoever.
Well, I have one major complaint. Your boy Ronaldo Morolo did the old he's hitting that body like there's candy in it. I mean, it was like the first round when he started. Usually he waits a couple. I mean, do you get as aggravated and as sick listening to that clown as I do?
Mauro Ronaldo is, I don't think he knows how to do anything else. I think everything that he does, I wonder what dinner's like at his house. The proverbial mashed potatoes. Yeah. Oh, look at this soda just rock back and forth. It's like it took a big punch. Whoa!
He's awful. He's terrible, and he's ruining it with for the other two guys that are there. And he talks like he's such this. I can't. You know what? I shouldn't have even mentioned because now we're giving him time. Let's move on.
He's not a bad announcer. It's just he's fallen into this groove where he just can't seem to get out of it. So obviously maybe he should just stay with the WWE.
I do think he's bad. I don't think. Listen. The rule in calling a fight, in my opinion, is simple. You call the action like it's happening in front of you. In baseball, they have so much time in between pitches that they talk about other stuff. Boxing's not the type of sport you can do that with. Football either. American football. The action is too much. The only time you could refer to other things and do comparisons in boxing would be between rounds. For them to start talking about all these other things that is not the action in front of them is just terrible. It's more about themselves. This is what bothers me. You mentioned that Errol Spence was a class act after the fight, not pounding his chest, not talking about himself in the third person, et cetera, et cetera. Well, that's the way I see Ronaldo. Ronaldo pounds his chest like he's the best guy out there and refers to himself in the third person and comes up with all these stupid accolades. It doesn't enhance the broadcast. As a matter of fact, it causes me, when I don't watch it live, to fast forward through all of that. It ruins the broadcast for me. Really, he's the worst in my opinion, Dax. I hate to say it, but it's true.
I mute the fights all the time. Every now and then I'll take it off mute when I'm not at the fights live. I watch for the fighters. I don't watch for the broadcasters. I think I've been watching sport long enough where I don't need anybody at that table to tell me what's going on inside the ring.
You mentioned that you thought that Errol Spence is now the AJ of boxing in the welterweight division. I like the analogy, but whereas Anthony Joshua, in my opinion, is clearly the best heavyweight, the closest guy that anybody could make an argument for, the closest guy he just knocked out with Klitschko, but the next guy would obviously be Deontay Wilder, although, I question Deontay Wilder's resume to that point. In Errol Spence's case, the guy that they might refer to as the welterweight king at this point would be Keith Thurman. The difference between Errol Spence and Keith Thurman is the fact that Keith Thurman does have the resume. He has fought the top guys. Why are you feeling that Errol Spence is the guy over Keith Thurman?
Because he's what we want maybe, in terms of the resume, absolutely Keith Thurman has a better resume, but Errol Spence is what we've been wanting in boxing. What we complain about all the time on what fighters used to be like in terms of their attitude and composure. Same thing with Anthony Joshua. Is he makes people excited. People want to see him, and he wants to fight the best. And you know what? We see a little bit of a vulnerability in them. For example, Anthony Joshua, when he fought Dillian White, we seen him get stunned with that uppercut. He kind of learned from it, and he didn't come out after that fight and just brag and blow it off. He admitted that he had a tough moment. Errol Spence, the same thing. Carries themselves the way we want them to carry themselves. It's not a show. It's about the sport, and it's about composing yourself like a champion inside the ring and outside of the ring. And the third party references that we seem to have happen more and more with fighters, announcers, promoters, whatever the case may be. It's about boxing. It's not about the whole show. And if you conduct yourself the right way and you perform inside the ring like you're supposed to, you know what? It's going to sell itself, and you don't need a gimmick.
In this fight, I thought the referee did a good job. He let them fight. He warned them both a couple of times, whatever. But for the most part, I thought the referee did a good job. What was your thoughts on the referee?
I thought the referee did a great job. I have no complaints with it. I didn't think the referee was, overzealous. I didn't think he tried to make it about him, which, another issue we see with a lot of referees. They want as much camera time as the fighters. The guys fought. It was a good fight. It was a good event. I have no complaints about it. I have complaints about the aftermath, which I want to talk about, but I have no complaints about the event itself.
Tell us about the aftermath.
Well, as alluded to earlier on, and Kell Brook, he has no shame. In my opinion, he fought back after being swarmed in that round. He did the best he could. He knew there was something wrong with his face. You suffer an injury like he did against Triple G, and you have something put into your face, with a plate like that. The structure is never the same, no matter what. Kell Brook knew there was something wrong. He was getting hit with some hard punches, and he did as much as he could for as long as he could. Now, Chris Eubank Jr., his fellow countryman, was the first guy to come out on social media and blast him, saying how, I don't know how you can throw your title away after 2 rounds, with only 2 rounds left. And he continued just to blast him over the next several days about how Kell Brook should have dug a little deeper. Kell Brook, this is the same Kell Brook that stepped in there for you because you failed to return a guaranteed contract for a unified middleweight title. Where were you, Chris Eubank, digging deep when you went against Billy Joe Saunders, knowing that fight was close? Why didn't you dig a little bit extra deeper? Why didn't you dig deeper to come out there and show your true championship heart? Instead, you know what? You talk a lot about the other guys, but you're not doing the things that you're criticizing them for. I don't understand that. And he's not the only one. There's a lot of fans, who just seem to, they're the armchair experts, the ones that seem to know and understand exactly what was going on, and that, Kell Brook, he quit. He could have went on. Who knows? Of course, we love the Warriors. We want to see them wage war. We want to see the knockouts. We want to talk about the Gaddy Wards, the Robinson Lamadas. We want to talk about the Rafael Marquez, Israel Vasquez fights down the road. But again, you know what? Israel Vasquez, he just lost his eye last year. He's 38 years old. And it's only the big guy. You have to incorporate the whole sport. On that same night, I was speaking with Joe Larkin last night. That same night, over in Canada, the journeyman, David Whittam, he suffered a loss to Gary Kopis, and he's in a coma. This guy went out there, Bill, and did everything he was supposed to. He's a guy who in the past he's faced the Latif Coyotes, Adonis Stevensons, Manny Sacchia, Oscar Rivas, Elidio Alvarez, Huey Fury in his debut. All guys that were either upcoming prospects. They went on to become world champions. Yeah, I don't hear anybody out there saying, something, I hope that David Whittam recovers. I wish him well. But something, do they even know who he is? Maybe it's Maybe that's what he was supposed to do. He was supposed to take that pounding and be in a coma because you know what, you're a fighter. That's what's expected. What if David Whittam had known before the fight ended? You know what? There's something wrong, and I'm going to call quits in my corner because he's not a world champion. He doesn't get that criticism. This is a guy who, do they know who he is? That's a question I want to keep stressing. Do they know who he is? Do they care? I would think that all these boxing experts, especially on social media, would know exactly what happened, know exactly who this guy is. It's guys like a David Witham, like a Nick Blackwell, like a Mike Towell that help create superstars like an Errol Spence or an Anthony Joshua or a Manny Pacquiao or an Andre Ward or even a Floyd Mayweather Jr. Without guys like that, these superstars can't become who they are. And, if you're going to care about the whole sport, you need to care about all the fighters in the sport. And don't just sit there because it didn't turn out the way you wanted to and bash them. You have to wish the losers well. You have to wish the winners well. You have to do it both the same. And that's, that bothers me about the sport. And that's, something why guys like Errol Spence and Anthony Joshua are positive for the sport because they don't go out there banging their chest. You mentioned Deontay Wilder. A difference between Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua is after Anthony Joshua knocks a guy out, he goes to his corner, he raises his hand, he says hello to the crowd. Deontay Wilder wants to dance in the ring like a fool.
Well, listen, you're preaching to the choir there. I think Deontay Wilder is, no disrespect to him personally, but I've said it many, many times. I think inside the ring he's a fraud. He hasn't fought anybody, and he couldn't come close to beating Anthony Joshua. And I hear what you're saying about Anthony Joshua and Errol Spence, both class acts, and Kell Brook is a class act. I think he represented the title in a positive way. I can't stand fighters that are pounding their chest. Billy Joe Saunders, you mentioned him. There's a guy right now that, to me, is a joke, doesn't deserve to have a title, let alone pound his chest. But what else is being said, or what else was being said in the immediate aftermath of the Spence victory over Kell Brook on social media? Were people feeling the way we are, that it was a great fight? Were there criticisms, and if so, where?
They concentrated more on Kell Brook taking that knee and saying, I had enough, than anything. And that's a fact. Social media, and that's what they said. And something, again, in this sport, and, I'll bring it out, and I'll say it now, again, in this sport, it brings out the racists. It seems to be something about boxing that brings out the racist pigs. The ones on social media, the ones that sit there behind these fake profile pictures that want to use any excuse they can. The ones over on the YouTube chat rooms that use any reason they can with these fake names. And somehow they expose this. There's some guy who sat there named Titans Homer. And I've mentioned his name because you know what? He's a lowlife. He's a piece of garbage. He has this fake picture of some fat guy, and he's talking about how Errol Brook quit, Kell Brook quit and he happened just to mention, some minorities. And, this was an ongoing thing and people joined in. This is why, again, I stress guys like Anthony Joshua and Errol Spence with their attitude and their professionalism is important for this sport because you know what? It brings it back to what it used to be. You referenced earlier about the 1980s where the guys went out there, the Fab Four, they did their job, they celebrated, and they went on and they fought the best opponents. They weren't out there trying to be celebrities and bragging and referring to themselves as the third person. I never heard Tommy Hearns talk about the Hitman as the third person. I never heard Roberto Duran talk about himself as the third person. I never heard Ray Leonard talk about Sugar as the third person. These guys today, something, there's no love for the sport. There's no love for the sport at all. Something, I've said it before, the way these guys are, you know what, with these fellas in there risking their life, boxing the business, Bum Fights is available for $14.99. Order it, put it inside your DVD player because that's where you belong, and let the champions and let the warriors and let the ones who appreciate the sport go about it.
One of the issues I brought up earlier is kind of what you're saying now. In MMA, the rules are you're allowed to tap out, and basically that's quitting. You could make the argument, well, you're about to get your arm or leg or neck broken, and you tap out. But the fans don't have a problem with that. The sport of boxing, like I said earlier, unless the referee, the doctor, or your own corner stops the fight, you're a quitter. I don't get it. Yes, like you made a great point in the chat room. There are quitters in this sport that, just look for an easy way out, an easy payday, lay down and pretend they're hurt from something or whatever. I get it. I agree with you. But then a legitimate injury, a fighter, basically he got knocked out. He's admitting that he can't continue. That's a knockout. It's a loss. Why the labelization of being a quitter, and then to carry it to different levels of criticism that even, like you mentioned, even rise to the ugly racism part. I mean, do you think that maybe a rule in boxing that a fighter can tap out of at some point? I mean, would that eliminate the criticisms?
No, what I think would eliminate it is if everybody wasn't sold. That's the biggest issue. They sell. It's sell, sell, sell. You don't need to be a salesman. You need to be a promoter. You've said it. You say it all the time. Promoters don't promote. Promote your fighters. Match the fighters up well. Whether you match two journeymen up together or you match up two world champions together, let them go in there. Let them do their job. Match properly. Promote properly. And you know what? The fights are going to sell. And you don't have to sit there and build fans up and have them expect something that is almost impossible for a lot of guys to deliver physically, even if they want to mentally. You mentioned somebody I had debate about this weekend was Miguel Cotto and Manny Pacquiao. You know what? Manny Pacquiao, he fought a fight, with his eardrum broken for almost 3/4 of the fight. Miguel Cotto in that same fight, I believe, he took a knee. He had to, succumb from the punishment of Manny Pacquiao. There was... it happens. It happens, guys. You can only take so much. The body's only human. You speak about MMA. When I was a kid, my father, my uncles, they would kid around. They would do this little thing where they just put something on the pressure point, to one of your wrists or your neck, and it would just bother you, like ow, ow, But these guys are trained professionals, and they get into these locks, and they know. Listen, if I don't stop, this guy's going to break my arm or break my leg because again, this isn't his position. This is how he's going to win. Frank Mir against Tim Silva when they fought for the heavyweight title in the UFC. Frank Mir had Tim Silva's arm, and literally you can look at the video and see Tim Silva's forearm actually jumps up to the skin. It doesn't go through the skin, but you see the bone literally break. He stayed on for as long as he could, and, after that, the fight had to end. There's only so much the human body can take, whether you're a professional athlete or not. And as I said again and again and again, and anybody with common sense says, these are young people. When your fighting career is over, you have a long time left to live after boxing or after MMA, and you know what? You want to be able to live with your family, spend time with your children, and if you go in there and you give it all, that's all anybody can ask. You give it your all. You're not taking a dive, and if that's not good enough, you know what? This isn't the sport for you. You have no appreciation for the Warriors. All you want to do is see fights. You're not a boxing fan. You can see a fight anywhere. Go to a bar, buy some guys some drinks, tell somebody that, you know what, that guy down there slept with your wife. Sit back, watch what takes place, go home. Call the guy a quitter, whoever was on the floor, and there you go. Instead of a $60 pay-per-view, you got away with $20 in booze.
That's kind of funny. If boxing doesn't have room for a fighter to tap out, in a sense, I'm using the word tap out because that's what's defined in MMA. Obviously, you wouldn't call it that in boxing, I don't think, but. But the corner can save a fighter. A corner, the discussion can be between a fighter and his trainers and team in between rounds and tell them, similar to what happened to Kell Brook against Triple G, and then the corner stopped the fight. No disgrace to Kell Brook. But in a case like this, maybe it's realized that it happened immediate and he can't continue. And the fans, jump all over Kell Brook in this case for quitting. Should the corner be able to recognize that? I mean, if there was no discussion at all, can the corner see that and save their fighter? I mean, in this case, it seems Kell Brook did the right thing for himself, but yet the criticism from the fans is not, it wouldn't even be taking place if the corner made the move. I mean, how could it work?
Well, when you look at the pictures of the fight, or if you watch the fight, the video, Kell Brook, it didn't seem like at the time of the stoppage, he had a broken orbital fracture. His eye was swollen, but it didn't look grotesque. It didn't look like Evangelista Cyborg, where his head was caved in from a flying knee. It did turn out that he had a fractured orbital bone. He knew what was going on. He knew what was wrong. His corner couldn't recognize it, maybe because he didn't complain about it. He didn't say anything about it. And, it wasn't really that obvious. There was swelling, and there's going to be swelling in boxing. That happens when you get punched. So, unless he was really complaining, how would they know? And then, we could sit there and criticize him and, talk about, Mago back in when he fought Mike Perez. He's complaining about his nose. And then, unfortunately, look what happened with him. His corner was... They didn't know. They thought it was his nose. They had no idea what was going to happen down the road. That's another reason why, not too long ago, when they introduced those little handheld scanners for situations like this, somebody's complaining that their head hurts or that there's nothing that really seems to be overly bothered at ringside, that'd be a place to do it. It takes 5 minutes. You don't need any special training. It costs $2,000, and something that would avoid a situation like what happened. With a guy like David Whittam, like what happened with a guy like a Mike Towell.
Dax, this I agree with you on everything we're talking about with Spence, but we're running out of time, and I wanted to get your thoughts on the IBF decision with Jose Yu, because I'm not going to try to murder his name anymore. We all are, but the truth of the matter is, it seems like they're going to be ordering a rematch, which I applaud. Have you heard anything on Leon Lawson? Is he still at large?
I think he was hiding in the dumpster behind the arena when Brook and Spence were fighting. What? I don't. How do you not catch this guy? I don't know. Something. What are they going to do when Anthony fights? Anthony's going to be fighting for a world title soon against one of Brook's countrymen. Is this guy? He's not going to show up for the title fight. It's an embarrassing situation. How do you not catch a guy that was on national TV? So they'll catch him somewhere down the road. I don't think they're talking about it because it's embarrassing. The fact they even let him get out of the arena, it's embarrassing.
Well, I mean, the truth of the matter is are they looking? If they're not, then the guy, what's he going to say? Well, we'll never go back to Baltimore. We'll never go back to the state of Maryland. It's deeper than whatever charge he's going to get, and he probably wouldn't have to do time or anything like that. I know you were saying that he thought he was going to do time. I know assault, but they could reduce that down and plea that out. I mean, what he needs to do is resolve it, because the longer it goes on, the worse it is, and it's ruining the Durrell name, to be honest with you. I think, and I'm not saying he doesn't deserve it, but Andre Durrell is losing face over his uncle's actions.
There's nothing to reduce. If you reduce that, then you know what? It's more or less condoning it. If you reduce that to a ticket, or you reduce that, to a minor misdemeanor where he has to do some community service, what does that do? That just invites every other clown to do that afterwards. So, you can't reduce that. It took place on national television, first-degree assault, second-degree assault. There's nothing to reduce. And what boxing should do as a whole is everybody say, you know what, anybody who's associated with this man that has some sort of legal papers, whether he's as a trainer, a manager, whatever capacity it may be, until the location of this man is given up and he turns himself in, anybody related with him in a professional manner does not get to fight for us, no matter what sanctioning body it is. And that, in my opinion, would send out even a bigger message to all the fighters out there and all the corners out there. You know what? If you don't conduct yourself like professionals and you don't maintain that level of composure that you're expected to, and you should, something, again, this isn't the sport for you.
I agree. Dax, great points, and we'll look forward to you later in the week, my man.
All right, and again, something, best wishes to David Whittam and his entire team, what took place this weekend, and I hope for him a speedy recovery. And one last thing for people to think about, we love the Warriors again, but, just think about Jerry Quarry and, how his days ended. And that was a Warrior, but there was times maybe things should have been stopped too soon, and this is 40, 50 years later. And you know what? It's not such a bad thing now.
No, I agree. Dax, have a good one, my man.
All right, everybody, enjoy your day.
That's Dax Khan. You can check him out. He's got a column up on BillyCBoxing.com. Hey, listen, we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, I'll have Sal Rocky Senecola. We'll get some final thoughts on the fight, and then some. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Billy C will be right back. Part of the Billy C Boxing Network.
If you or a loved one have had hernia repair surgery with mesh reinforcement and suffered infection, chronic pain, mesh migration, mesh failure, organ damage, or needed additional surgery, call the Rely On Group right now. You may be eligible to receive a cash award and compensation for your medical expenses. Your voice deserves to be heard. Call the Rely On Group to be connected with a personal injury attorney for a free consultation. Call 800-715-4869. That's 800-715-4869.
Are you currently on Medicare? In other words, do you carry the red, white, and blue Medicare card? If so, are you suffering from chronic back pain? If you answered yes, you may be eligible for a pain-relieving back brace covered by Medicare at little to no cost, shipped directly to your home for free. These medical-grade back braces are ideal for lower back pain, arthritis, spinal disorders, and other chronic back problems. Will you qualify for a medical-grade back brace?
Call Back Brace America at 1-800-290-8300.
Snacking has never been this exciting. At Graze.com, we combine wholesome ingredients with the flavors we all love to create over 100 exciting snacks. Like these. We'd love to send you a Graze sampler box for free. Just go to Graze.com, enter the code ENJOY36, and we'll mail your free box to your home or office. Join thousands of Grazers already in love with our exciting snacks. So come to Graze.com for your first box free.
Endless pools are an incredible alternative to traditional pools, making it easy and inexpensive to swim at home. Exercise year-round against a smooth current set to your desired pace and temperature. With our new underwater treadmill, you can walk or run without stressing your joints. Endless pools are simple to install and even simpler to maintain. The water stays crystal clear with almost no chlorine. Call for your free idea kit and experience the freedom of swimming at home.
Check out BillyCBoxing.com now, or feel the wrath of the mighty mustache.
Oh, that hurts! Why are you doing that to my face? I hate you.
That's BillyCBoxing.com. Consider this your warning. Now back to Billy C. Interact with the show at BillyCBoxing.com.
And we're back. You're watching and listening to the Billy C. Show. Glad you could be with us. And joining me again is my man Sal Rocky Senecola. So we'll give him a second because he keeps disconnecting his whole setup over there. Are you ready now, Sal?
Oh, I'm here, baby. I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
Yeah, okay. All right. But any thoughts on what Dax was saying?
You know, I listened, and he had made some good, valid points. And, you know, there are some major differences with both of you guys were saying with the MMA rules and the rules of boxing. You're going to have critics on both sides of the aisles for what happened Saturday night, whether Kell Brook should have continued and finish out the round and maybe go back to his corner, or whether he said, hey, you know what, this ain't my night. Tonight's not my night. I'm going to come back and fight another day or see what the doctor says because something's wrong. You know, and other sports do have, like the tap out and other things that are in place. Someone made a great comment in the chat room about, well, if that was considered quitting, what do you really call the Roberto Duran Sugar Ray Leonard 2 fight? You know, when Duran did throw up his arms in frustration and said no mas. So that's famous forever. And that'll be entrenched in the minds of people that Duran quit that night, which he did. So Duran's my favorite fighter of all time, pretty much. But what do we do about this? This is a situation that we could definitely debate. We could see, and if there's going to ever be a rule in place, I don't know. But right now, it's just subject to opinion.
Well,
and the fighter's well-being and his own personal conditions and concern.
Well, in the chat room, whoever brought up the no mas, by definition, yeah, Roberto Duran quit. But if anybody knows anything about the sport of boxing, the last guy you can refer to as a quitter is Roberto Duran. I mean, this was a relentless guy. Yes, he was frustrated in the Leonard fight.
That's what it was.
And he just was like, forget it. If this guy's not going to fight me, if this guy's not going to stand there and mano on mano and fight me, forget it, no more. And that's why he quit. Now, I'm not making an excuse. I've had enough. But when you off on your punches and you're not looking good, you're feeling it's not your night, screw the fans and just, hang them up. Nate Campbell did the same thing, And Roberto, and all I'm going to say, one last thing, Sal, is Roberto Duran, I mean, with the wars that guy was in, to label him a quitter because of the no mas fight, by definition, like we've all agreed, yes, he quit in that fight. But to label him a quitter, absolutely not. You can't label Roberto Duran a quitter. That night, he was frustrated because Sugar Ray Leonard employed a game plan to frustrate Roberto Duran, and it worked. So credit to Sugar Ray Leonard.
Always, and you define that perfectly, and that's exactly what happened there. Like I said, what goes through a fighter's mind, the demons, the heart, this and that, and everything else, is subject to that individual. I mean, we saw a couple weeks ago, I forgot what Latin American fighter it was. He refused and he quit the fight in the middle of the fight, and he just took enough, and that was it.
That was my guy, Yuriorkis Gamboa.
Yeah, that was Gamboa. That's what I'm saying. But Gamboa, your guy. You're my guy. I picked him to win.
But Gamboa
quit.
But yes, he quit by definition. But here's the thing. He got knocked down 190 times in that fight. I mean, the truth of the matter is he was taking a beating. It's a lot different when a fighter's taking a beating and they realize that they just don't have it anymore. Why go out for another 3 minutes of a good old fashioned arse whooping? I mean, I get it. Now, do we respect as boxing fans? Do we respect and put these guys that do go out, the Arturo Gottis, for example, the Boom Boom Mancinis, for example, etc., those guys, we put them on a pedestal. We put guys like that on a pedestal that put their life in danger and their future in danger. We put those guys on a pedestal, Sal, and yet we crucify the guys that go out for a legitimate reason like Kell Brook. Kell Brook, in my opinion, is not getting the love that he should. Not just about his decision to pack it in for that fight, but overall, people are starting to say that his career wasn't that good. He wasn't that good. He was overrated. I disagree. I think he was one of the best welterweights in the division. I think that you said it best last week when you said Triple G took more out of this guy than we realized. And you're right. I think that we saw that. I think that we saw a fighter that did get his his eye injured again and immediately knew what it was. And I'm sorry, but I think that this guy went into that fight worried about the other eye socket and ends up getting the new one busted up. So mentally, we've said it all the time, 90% mental this sport is, and I think we saw that on Saturday night.
100% correct, and that's exactly what you and I were discussing last week before this fight. It came to fruition, and that's exactly what rolled out.
I mean, now we wonder, where does each fighter go from here? Kell Brook, I think he needs to obviously heal and then decide, what he's got. Opportunities for himself. I mean, what does he do? Does he climb the ladder again? Does he fight the Sean Porter type fight, and then the winner of that fight goes in? Does he fight the rematch? Did he have a rematch clause? I mean, there's a lot of question marks about Kell Brook. Where he goes from here. What do you think?
I don't think we'll ever see Kell Brook again fight the way we once saw him fight. I think he's done. I hope I'm wrong, but I think as a world champion or as a top contender, I think he's got too many other concerns to start thinking about. And like I said, he's got the whole second or 2/3 of his life to live. And, we're going to see. We're going to see. You know what? I wish I was going to hear the prognosis from the doctor, but we will hear that. And we'll see from there. I'll give you a better assessment once I hear the facts. But I think in his mind, I don't know if we'll ever see the same warrior or fighter come out in the ring again. I don't think it's possible. We'll see what he could dig deep and do. But like I said, I don't want to be jumping to conclusion. And I don't know. I just know in my heart of mind where my mindset would be, and I don't know. I can't judge what his heart and mind where he will be. So it's going to be the fire in the belly, the fire in the heart, and we'll see what happens.
Hey, leave what I ate for dinner last night out. I do have a little fire in the belly.
Tell you right now,
but I just want to give a shout out to everyone that's catching our stream up on Facebook Live. Today is our inaugural day up on Facebook. And if you are watching, just remember it's a very limited video experience. If you want to get the full show, the same show that goes out on our affiliates on television and radio and everything else, you can go check that out up on our YouTube page, youtube.com/talkin, TALKIN boxing, BOXING, or just go to BillyCBoxing.com and click it. It's right on the front page if you want to get the whole show, or just check us out on your television listings because we are available on DirecTV and Comcast. So check that out. Now, as far as Errol Spence, my thoughts on where he goes next is, Dax pretty much has anointed him, in Dax's own words, the AJ, the Anthony Joshua of the welterweight division. And I think it would be hard to disagree with him on that, because Errol Spence seems to be just such a class act, and of course he could back it up inside the ring. Now, what's next for Errol Spence? I hope that he does not milk the win, and what I mean by that is I hope he doesn't sit back and fight in November or December. I'd like to see him again in 3 or 4 months, at least. This year, I hope, and I hope he fights a substantial opponent. If he's not going to fight Keith Thurman, which we all know Keith Thurman won't be available till the end of this year, if at all this year, then the two opponents that I kind of would like to see him fight, and I know they have the possibility of a rematch with Kell Brook, but the two opponents that top my list, Sal. Danny Garcia and Sean Porter. Those are the only two fights that I think Errol Spence, should fight. I mean, he's just leaped. He leapfrogged into the upper echelon, and many people already had him there. But he leapfrogged into the upper echelon by beating Kell Brook. There's no sense in going anybody lower on the totem pole than, and that does not mean any disrespect to Danny Garcia or Sean Porter. No. But he needs to fight one of those guys while he's waiting for Keith Thurman. Keith Thurman is the fight we want to see. What do you think?
Exactly what you said. We're calling it a significant fight. And let me tell you something. Right off the bat, you're going to see that Keith Thurman's out of the loop till the end of the year. And definitely we're going to see that Kell Brook, we won't see Kell Brook the remainder of this year, most likely. So I think, one of those two top guys is going to be it. Sean Porter is definitely a classic and who can give anybody a good fight. We'll see if that fight could be made, or Danny Garcia, another good fight. Those are two out there looming that we'll see. But I definitely want to see Errol Spence back in the ring before the end of the year, at least.
I hope you're right. Hey, Sal, on this day in boxing history, May 30th, in 1987, Tony TNT Tucker knocks out Buster Douglas in the 10th round to win the vacant IBF World Heavyweight title, and that took place in Las Vegas. The funny thing about this fight, Sal, is this fight was, Tony TNT Tucker, Buster Douglas, was nothing as a fighter. His biggest fight in the history of his career was the win over Tyson. And to remember that TNT Tucker knocked him out on this day in 1987 just puts that into focus. On this day in 1925, Paul Berlenbach wins a 15-round decision over Mike McTeague to win the world light heavyweight title. It took place in the Bronx, New York on this day in 1925. On this day in 1923, Jack Bernstein wins a 15-round decision over Johnny Dundee to win the world junior lightweight title. It took place at Madison Square Garden in New York City. On this day in 1961, Johnny Caldwell wins a 15-round decision over Alphonse Halami to win the European World Bantamweight title, and that took place in London. And yes, I did say European World. During this time, there were several states, and in this case, Europe, that not only had domestic titles or regional titles for the states, they also had world titles. So we complained about how many title belts there are today. There were several of them throughout the history of the sport as well. On this day in 1889, James Corbett and Joe Chowinski enter the ring for a 10-round fight to the finish, fight that took place in California. But after 4 rounds, the coppers came in and stopped this fight. The police intervened and stopped the fight. This goes to show you. Well, this goes to show you how long. This was 1889, but how long. Specifically Joe Chowinski stayed fighting. He fought Jack Johnson in several. At one fight, they ended up both sitting in jail. And Joe Chowinski is a guy that Jack Johnson gives a lot of credit for teaching him how to box. And Jack Johnson, really one of the best technicians in the ring that we've ever seen. Unfortunately, for the boxing fan today, the footage of him was so primitive back in the early 1900s that you can't get a true representation of how great Jack Johnson really was. On this day in 1924, Pancho Villa wins a 15-round decision over Frankie Ash. And that's not to be confused with Sal makes. Sal occasionally makes an ash of himself. But Frankie Ash, Pancho Villa beats Frankie Ash to retain his world flyweight title. Took place in Brooklyn. And on this day, May 30th in 1951, Ezra Charles wins a 15-round decision over Joey Maxim to retain his world light heavyweight title. And that took, his world heavyweight title. And that took place at the Chicago Stadium in Chicago. And that's what took place on this day in boxing history. Now, tomorrow, we're going to return with our trivia questions. Sal, are we going to get anybody getting these right or what?
I don't know, Bill, but I've got a couple answers for you when we hear those.
Yeah, I know. But we'll have the trivia questions, so make sure you tune in tomorrow to get the question. And like always, we give away prizes for the first one to email me. And speaking of email, you guys feel free to if you take the time to email us, we'll take the time to read it on air. You can also email us with any suggestions on our blast from the past, which we will be doing tomorrow. Alex Papali will be here, and Alex and I will be discussing, as per request, former heavyweight contender, and many believe a guy that would have dominated the heavyweight division, Ike Ibuchi, and we'll be talking about him on tomorrow's show. So we got a lot of stuff coming up for the rest of the week, and don't forget to get yourself some tickets to the International Boxing Hall of Fame Friday night fights, which is take place at the Turning Stone. I will be there. I don't think I'm going to be spending much more time up at the Hall of Fame this year because Sal and I are going to be working on our next project, which is filming some pilots. And that's all I'm going to tell you. That's all I'm going to tell you because we can't really discuss it, but we got some great stuff coming up, and we hope you guys enjoy the work that we are doing to enhance the Billy C brand. But
Bill? Bill?
Oh, you still here? I thought I hung up on you.
Yeah. No, who's going to fly the plane? You or me? You said we're going to film pilots. What?
No, we're filming them flying the plane.
Oh,
we're
okay,
on the
okay.
yeah. That's pilots. We're filming pilots, right?
Uh,
We're filming
bing,
pilots.
bing,
Come
bing,
on,
I'm
don't
sorry.
try to throw me under. We're filming pilots, so we're gonna be in the back of the plane. You know,
I'm excited.
we'll
I'm
be in the back of
excited.
the plane filming these guys and doing their duties. You know, but in any event, hey, listen, make sure you guys tune in tomorrow morning, same bat time, same bat channel. Until then, I'll leave you with this. Ciao, baby.